Hello, listeners, and welcome to Boomerang. This is Team 4 bringing you the news taken with permission from the West Lothian Courier, published on Thursday, the 27th of June 2024. And our readers today are Jackie, Kate, Joan, Margaret, and Joyce. Harry is our recording engineer, and with him is Ray, who is a trainee recorder, so I hope that he finds his visit informative. As usual, there will be 4 parts. Part 1 will be general news. Part 2 will include family announcements. Part 3 will have more general news and the quiz. And the answers to the quiz will be included in Part 4. This week, items from West Lothian Council Bulletin will feature throughout the recording. Now, Kate will start off this week's broadcast with the lead story.
Future of Kids Respite Centre is put in doubt, by Debbie Hall. A vital respite service for disabled and seriously ill children is at risk of closure due to a squeeze on health budgets. NHS Lothian's Sundash Centre in Livingston is under review and at risk of closure. Sundash in Ladywell and its sister site Clara Reid in Edinburgh are purpose-built bungalows, nurse-led 24/7 and run by NHS Lothian to provide specialist respite and residential care to children and young people with complex care needs. Currently, there are no other services in Scotland. It aims to provide specialist care to those children, day in and out, in a homely environment away from the hospital, and to provide their families with some much-needed respite. The service also provides end-of-life care and works closely with the children's palliative care team. An insider, who asked not to be named, said, "We all know the NHS is struggling at the minute, but to even consider reviewing the service is astonishing. There has been talks around reducing the service into one 9-bedroom unit, which is still unacceptable." The service is supposed to be a comfort and dignified experience for the children away from the hospital setting. Combining the service to one small house would mean a hectic stay for all children and staff, less time for staff to spend time with them doing fun things which we would be experiencing. It would be such a different service and not at all anything like what it is now and what it has been in the past. Taking away or even reducing the service will be a massive loss to those children and their families, and to any potential families who may require to access such a service in future. Sundash, which is Gaelic for joy, happy or bright, celebrated its 20th anniversary just last year. The parents of youngsters who use the service said it offers a place where children can be independent in a home away from home, without parents having to worry. The insider continued, NHS Lothian prides itself on their values: care and compassion, dignity and respect, quality, teamwork, honesty and responsibility. Where do these values come into place here? The care of the service users and families will be massively impacted. Dignity and respect lessened, quality of the service hugely downgraded, and the responsibility to provide the care deserved gone. Staff here absolutely love their jobs, and to most it is much more than just a job. It's their whole life. Many have been in this service for 20 years plus. You can trace back the history of the service all the way to 1872, when Douglas House in Edinburgh was opened. Alistair Short, Director of Women and Children's Services, NHS Lothian, said, NHS Lothian, along with other public sector bodies in Scotland, is facing serious financial challenge, and as a result, all services and spending are being reviewed. As part of that process, we are working with families and staff to consider the current model of respite and residential care provision for children in Lothian. We remain committed to the provision of respite and residential care, and over the next few weeks, a number of engagement sessions will be held with families and carers. A dedicated project team will then gather the information to better understand the current service model and carry out a full options appraisal, which will include the input from families and carers.
A sharp rise in antisocial calls. A huge rise in antisocial behaviour across West Lothian in the last year has been so extreme it prompted a councillor to ask if the figure was a printing error. A senior Labour member questioned the figures presented in a year-end report from senior officers, which showed a 12% jump on reports for 2023/24 compared to the year before. Whitburn and Blackburn councillor George Paul asked Divisional Commander Jocelyn O'Connor, for quarter 4, 22/23, there's 9,160, and for quarter 4, 23/24, there's 10,281, well over 1,000 increase. Is that a printing error, or is this the case? Chief Inspector Jocelyn O'Connor replied, this is the case. There's been a 12.12% increase. Incidents of vandalism rose from 1,299 to 1,374, a 5.8% increase. Fire raising to 133 to 141, a 6% increase, and a breach of the peace rose from 1,348 to 1,429, a 6% increase. As for clear-up rates, the detection rate for vandalism was 21.1%, for fire raising 19.9%, and for breach of the peace 72.5%. In her report to councillors, CI O'Connor said, we continue to tackle antisocial behaviour, that's ASB, in its various forms with our partners. Unfortunately, issues at Livingston shopping centres and the retail parks have increased again, with numerous incidents reported to the police during this quarter. Although work has been ongoing in the background with various identified youths, incidents did increase, causing issues for both staff and members of the public. Partners continue monthly meetings with centre management to address ongoing issues and find a long-term solution. In March, both the former Excite leisure centres in Broxburn and Livingston, known as Bubbles, were subject to willful fire raising. We encourage parents to discuss with their children the dangers of fire raising.
This article is headed No Money for Winchborough Railway Station, and the words no money are in quotes. Plans for a new railway station in West Lothian are set to stay on the drawing board after the Scottish Government said it had no money and argues that the project needs to be led by the housing developer. And West Lothian's veteran Labour councillor Tom Conn said it's a problem for others to sort out. The council is not a rail provider. Councillors heard this week that it remains unclear what the role of the National Transport Agency is. Since a proposed new station was first announced in 2012, several new stations have been opened as the Scottish rail network has regenerated. West Lothian Council set up a meeting in April between Winchborough Developments Limited, the Scottish Government and Transport Scotland. Council representatives were advised that no complete business plan or design is in place for the Winchborough railway station. A report to members of the Environment and Sustainability Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel (PDSP) said Transport Scotland also made clear that a promoter needed to be identified before the project could progress any further. This had not previously been identified as an issue. Project Officer Caitlin Hurst added, while it is the case that railway station projects are often led by national agencies, it remains unclear as to why Transport Scotland are not promoting the construction of the railway station at Winchborough. Head of Planning Craig McCorriston told the meeting that ordinarily it would be Transport Scotland that would be the promoter, acting as the project lead. The Council has arranged a further meeting. Transport Scotland, Network Rail and Winchborough Developments Limited will also be asked to attend. The date has not yet been confirmed. The Edinburgh and South East Scotland City Region Deal, CRD, has an infrastructure fund to support development. Local councillor Diane Calder suggested the Winchborough development should divert the almost £1 million supposed to be spent on road links to Edinburgh into the railway station. Pippa Plevin for the Joint Forum of Community Councils told the meeting, "We are appalled that after all these years of being promised a train station, there appears to be no work done on the design. Instead, there are priorities of an A89 corridor. We're not going to take hundreds of cars off the road."
This is an article from the West Lothian Summer Bulletin. Broxburn Academy pupil is National Great Debate Champion. A Broxburn Academy pupil has been named the winner of a prestigious national debating competition. Emma Crowe, S5, was in Windsor Castle at the final of the Historic Association Great Debate public speaking competition, where she was up against participants from across the United Kingdom. Earlier this year she won the Scottish Heat and then won a UK-wide semi-final before making the final shortlist of 22 to be invited to Windsor from hundreds of entries. Participants were asked to present on a topic: which historical place or person from your local area deserves greater recognition? To an esteemed judging panel made up of professors of history from Cambridge, Royal Holloway and UCL. Emma's talk was a fascinating story of Mary Patterson, who was one of the victims of the infamous grave robbers and murderers, William Burke and William Hare, in the early 19th century. She wowed the judging panel and was named as overall winner, and in doing so became the first Scottish speaker to win the award since 2008.
Primary and Nursery given glowing inspection report by Debbie Hall. Pupils and staff at Easterton Primary School and Nursery in Armadale are celebrating a very positive report from Education Scotland inspectors. Both the school and nursery were assessed as very good across all 4 of the Education Scotland quality indicators. The watchdog spent time in April 2024 talking to parents and carers and children and working closely with head teacher Lynn Deere, who said, "We're all really delighted with the extremely positive outcome of this inspection. The feedback reflects the amazing community we have at Easterton, where our fantastic whole staff team across both the nursery and school provide high-quality learning and teaching opportunities for all our children in a nurturing and caring environment. It was also brilliant to see our children highlighted so positively in the report. I was delighted that our inspectors saw what we see every day, that our youngest children in the nursery right up to our primary 6 and 7 pupils, who are currently learning at Armadale Academy due to a school refurbishment, are kind, respectful, enthusiastic about learning and live by our school values. We will take learnings from this visit and look to apply it as we continue to further develop our practices at Easterton. I am so proud of our school, our children and my whole staff team. Key points included the school's highly effective head teacher, who's providing very strong leadership and direction. The head teacher is supported very well by the deputy head and the newly appointed principal teacher. Together, they are ambitious for all the children. All staff work very well together. They engage effectively with professional learning and reflection on the impact of their practices. High-quality learning and teaching is leading to a strong attainment in literacy and numeracy. Inspectors observe children who are happy, enthusiastic and confident. They enjoy learning in school and are achieving potential skills for learning life and work. They show respect, care and kindness as they learn and play together. Children are very proud of the school. The inspection team also found a welcoming, nurturing and caring ethos which is underpinned by the school's values. This is leading to a positive relationship and a strong sense of community and is helping children to feel happy, secure and to flourish. Meanwhile, in the nursery, the inspection team found the children enjoy high-quality learning experiences, particularly when playing outdoors. They have fun and adventure when they are involved in exciting challenges, where they can take risks under careful adult supervision. Children achieve a range of skills and progress very well in communications and language, mathematics and health and well-being, and all staff are sensitive and intuitive. They ensure that children are included, and as a result, learners are developing a sound understanding of equality and fairness from an early age. Staff know children and families well, and they work hard together to provide a broad range of supports which will have a positive impact on addressing barriers to children's learning. And this goes along with a lovely picture of 12 children from the nursery and from the schools with what I think is a head teacher and some of her staff showing the balloons and celebrating their achievement.
Whitburn Gala Day. What a day for locals. Whitburn Gala Day was yet another success this year, with floats aplenty in the parade, lots of colourful costumes, singers, dancers and so much more. Taking her place centre stage at the traditional crowning ceremony was this year's Queen, Abby Ann Lennon, who was crowned by Laura Quilter. She was joined by her night challenger, Jacob Wilson. Organisers took to Facebook to thank everyone in the community who had helped out to make the day such a success, and all the locals who came out to support it. They said, "What a brilliant day yesterday. We hope you all had a wonderful time. Thank you to everyone for coming out and making Whitburn Gala Day a fantastic day." And there's a double page spread of all the photographs, the children dressed up for this wonderful occasion. The Queen, of course, Abby Ann, in a beautiful white dress with her purple velvet cloak round her. Another girl, I take it, this is maybe a chief lady in waiting, in a beautiful lilac dress. And then we have the parade. Lots of children marching down the main street in Whitburn, people lining both sides of the road. We have 4 little boys here dressed as characters out of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And what else? Let's have a look. Oh, and here are the fairies. Beautiful. There must be rainbow fairies because they're in every colour under the rainbow. And it's just, and there's the Queen and she's waving. And it's been a superb day for everyone in Whitburn.
This article by Debbie Hall is headed "Shona takes up the role as head at the Academy." Shona Wallace has been appointed as the new head teacher of Broxburn Academy. Miss Wallace will join the school at the start of the new academic term in August, replacing long-serving head teacher Peter Reid, who will be retiring at the end of the current term. Miss Wallace graduated from the University of Newcastle upon Tyne with a PGCE in Chemistry and Science before starting her teaching career in the northeast of England, teaching in both the primary and secondary sector. Her career brought her back into Scotland in 2014 following the birth of her son, and she took up various roles within Edinburgh schools, including principal teacher of chemistry at Balerno High School, curriculum leader of science and acting deputy head at Craigmount High School. She completed the intensive into headship qualification at the University of Edinburgh in 2017 before taking up the post as deputy head of pupil support at Broughton High School. During this time, Miss Wallace was also seconded as deputy head teacher to Kames School, specialist provision in 2022 and more recently as acting head teacher of Craigroyston HS in 2022 to 23. Miss Wallace said, "It is such a privilege to be joining Broxburn Academy as the new head teacher. Broxburn is a thriving and caring community and I'm overwhelmed by the warm welcome and kindness shown to me. I'm passionate about education and the opportunities it affords in improving outcomes for young people and their families, and I am ambitious for what we will achieve together. My vision for our school is one where we provide equal opportunities for all and nurture every young person to thrive and do their best, where everyone feels supported and valued, and innovation and excellence are at the forefront of everything we do. Creating a positive ethos and an inclusive culture will be essential. We will work together to ensure that our school is a safe and happy place where respect, support and a focus on well-being for all are central to our work. In addition, engaging with our students, their families and the wider community will be key to our success. I look forward to working with everyone to set specific goals that align with this vision and to develop together the strategies to achieve them. I am excited for what lies ahead as together we create and deliver a new vision of excellence for our school. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Peter Reid for his generosity and time in ensuring a smooth handover and wish him well in his retirement."
M&S staff go that extra mile. Staff from M&S Linlithgow have completed a week-long challenge and raised over £1,000 so far for Young Minds, the leading mental health charity for young people. The store is one of over 360 M&S stores across the UK, taking on a fundraising challenge to raise awareness and much-needed funds for those struggling with their mental health. The Linlithgow team cycled 500 miles, the equivalent of the North Coast 500, on a static bike. Meanwhile, store colleagues April Barclay also recently completed 60 laps of Knockhill racing circuit to add £125 to the store's fundraising pot. Another colleague to take part, Michelle Davidson, knows firsthand the positive impact the charity can have, having previously received support from Young Minds. Michelle said, "When I started working for M&S, I was delighted to learn of their partnership with Young Minds, a charity very close to my heart. The big fundraiser is part of M&S's partnership with Young Minds, announced last October, and aims to raise £5 million over the next 3 years to support young people's mental health. This will enable Young Minds to support 7 million young people and the adults in their lives through easy-to-access online resources and its dedicated Parents Helpline." Brian Torley, store manager at M&S Linlithgow, said, "At Linlithgow, we're proud to be supporting M&S in its fundraising mission to provide mental health support to young people." Laura Brunt, Chief Executive of Young Minds, said, "Life is increasingly tough for young people, and record numbers are in need of support for their mental health. When they're able to access the help they need, things can get better, but the wait for support is often too long or the right support isn't available." And there's a picture of, I don't know who it is, pedal power. Anyway, somebody's on the bicycle doing their stint.
And that brings us to the end of part 1. And in part 2, family announcements will be included. Welcome to part 2. And before the family announcements, I would like to tell you about an idea which was discussed at our last committee meeting. It was suggested that we could record question and answer sessions between a Boomerang team member and representatives from groups and organisations who could possibly offer support and ideas to help our listeners. These recordings would be sent out to you as part of the normal Boomerang recording. We have had one or two suggestions for possible guests, such as someone from Cyrenians or Sight Scotland, but we would be very interested to find out what or whom you would like to hear. So, if you have any thoughts on the matter, please call Heather on 07707 830 634 or put a wee note in your wallet before you send it back to us. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to tell us. Now, we will continue with the family announcements, and this week they are all deaths. Howard, Margaret, Curran, from Broxburn. Peacefully at St John's Hospital on the 12th of June 2024, Margaret, a much-loved mum and granny. Funeral service, to which all are welcome, will be held at St John Cantius and St Nicholas Church on Tuesday the 2nd of July at 11 a.m, thereafter to Loning Hill Cemetery. Kane, Francis, from Uphall. Peacefully at St John's Hospital on the 17th of June 2024, Francis, beloved wife of Dominic, much-loved mum of Anne and Stephen, and a loving nana of Abby, Jacob, Lucas, Isaac, and great-nana of Mason, former registrar of births, deaths and marriages in West Lothian. A funeral service, to which all are welcome, will be held at West Lothian Crematorium on Wednesday, 3rd of July 2024 at 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Skene, John, 31/1/1948 to 11th of June 2024. In loving memory of John, husband of Lindsay and proud father of Nicola, who sadly passed away on the 11th of June at Tippet Hill House Hospital after a long illness, will be sorely missed. An informal funeral will be held at West Lothian Crematorium on the 1st of July at 10 a.m, to which all friends are invited. And that brings us to the end of the family announcements for this week, and so we will continue with more general news and Kate.
Blood cancer victim Carol's warning to look for signs, by Debbie Hall. A West Lothian mum who endured months of strange symptoms was left feeling like she had been plugged into the mains before being diagnosed with cancer is urging others to speak to their GP. Carol McGahey had intense tingling in her fingers and toes and couldn't sleep at night. In November 2021, she was diagnosed with an incurable blood cancer, myeloma. The nurse, 56, is keen to raise awareness of the telltale symptoms before it's too late. The mum of two, who had also two stepchildren, said she felt a measure of relief when although it was a shocking diagnosis, knowing it wasn't all in her head. Carol said, "I was exhausted all the time. I used to regularly bake and cook. I loved gardening. I would walk our dogs for miles, but I just didn't have the energy." The 56-year-old claimed GPs didn't know an awful lot about the blood cancer and didn't put two and two together for her. As a nurse, she said she had been aware of myeloma but didn't know of its impact. She said, "I would not have associated back pain with blood cancer. That's why awareness is so important. Now I try to raise awareness through work, and I've told some of my patients about my diagnosis and symptoms. I left it too long and I tried to manage the pain myself. My advice would be, you know your own body, so be more vocal and push a bit more with the doctor rather than accepting their word that it's nothing to worry about. You know what you used to be able to do before, but you can't do now. If you don't go in and ask the question, you're not going to get any answers." Carol revealed her first symptom appeared in late 2020 when she began experiencing back and hip pain. Her doctors quickly ruled out sciatica and said and prescribed her painkillers and advised her to attend physiotherapy. She then suffered 2 episodes of shingles that winter. Carol added, "I'm a nurse, so I put it down to having nurses back." But things kept getting worse, and that's when the tingling in my fingers and toes started at night. It went on for months and months. I thought it might be something along the lines of MS. It took months before she was referred to a haematologist and given her diagnosis. She added, "I felt relieved that I wasn't going mad, and there was actually something wrong." But it is also hard because it's not something they could cut away. You hear the word incurable, and you know it's cancer that's going to be with you forever. I'm not sure why it took so long to get diagnosed, but thankfully they found it before I had any organ damage. Since I was diagnosed and attached to a consultant, the care has been impeccable, and having a direct number to the myeloma nurse specialist is invaluable. No question is too small. Carol began chemotherapy at Western General in October 2022 and is now in remission. She said she is more determined than ever to live a full life. She's so excited to become a doting grandmother thanks to ongoing improvements in treatment. She said, "I know it's incurable and it will come back. Every time you get aches and pains, you think, is it back? Sometimes it feels like you live from test result to test result every 3 months. But I've got quite logical mind, and I've been a few years letting it sink in. There are now so many treatments. We were always living for today, but even more so now. We are just enjoying life, and this year we're going to travel to Canada to visit our son Ross. Then our daughter Emma is getting married in November. In the beginning, my whole life was myeloma. I know it's always going to be there, and I don't block it out. But I try to move on a bit, and it's not my central focus anymore. Now I see future, more so than I did a few years ago." And this has actually come with a lovely picture of the lady in question of Carol and a lovely inset with her daughter and her husband. But there's also facts associated with this article. And it's according to Myeloma UK, around 5,900 people are diagnosed with myeloma every year. More than 2,300 patients are dealing with the disease in Scotland. A spokesperson said, "Despite being the 3rd most common type of blood cancer, myeloma is frequently missed as its symptoms, including back pain, easily broken bones, fatigue, and recurring infection, are vague and often linked to general ageing or minor conditions. 1 in 4 people wait more than 10 months for a diagnosis. These are some of the longest delays out of any cancer in the UK, yet a simple blood test can pick up signs of myeloma."
Fast and furious racing on drama-filled night. It was another dry stock car meeting at the Cowdenbeath Racewall on Saturday night, resulting in some fast and furious racing. There were hat-tricks for Adele Walmsley in the junior bangers and for Brian Youngson in the 2-litre bangers, while Sean McConaughey all but had his banger on its side as he tried to overtake the car ahead. There was plenty of drama throughout the meeting, and in one incident, Ratha's Zoe Stewart was leading the opening Pro Stock Basic heat with only a few laps remaining, but she had a group of cars trailing her in close order. As Zoe tried to lap a back marker, she was clipped and sent bouncing off the wall and crashing out with 4 other cars. The saloon drivers served up some exciting racing, and during the opening heat, the Dale's Taylor Borthwick was sitting in 2nd spot, but she was sent spinning on the turnstile bend with only a few taps remaining, causing a massive shunt. The Dale's Jordan Cassie benefited from the chaos to move from the 10th to 2nd where he finished. Cassie then picked up 7th place in Heat 2 and was 6th in the final. Polbeth's James Payton ended up in 3rd spot in the opening heat, with Harthill's Joanne Hilditch 4th in Heat 2. Hilditch was 5th in the final. Owen Marshall, Blackridge, was the local driver racing in the Junior Bangers, where his only finish came during the final, where he ended up in 4th place. The McConaughey brothers, Sean and Douglas from Wilkeston, didn't have a good time of it in the 2-litre bangers. Sean finished in 3rd place in Heat 1, and that turned out to be their only finish of the night. This Saturday is the last at the race wall prior to the mid-season break. Racing are the Bry SCA Formulas 2s, the ORCI stock rods, Prostock and Micro F2s, and the meeting starts at 6 o'clock.
This article is taken from the West Lothian Council Bulletin. National recognition for West Lothian Council apprentices. 2 outstanding West Lothian Council apprentice electricians have been recognised by the Association for Public Service Excellence, APS, Scotland. Cameron Stavert, who is a first-year apprentice electrician, picked up the Apprentice of the Year award, first year 2024. The 19-year-old former Broxburn Academy pupil was nominated for the award by colleagues as he was a standout apprentice in the last 12 months in both the workplace and at college, as he has undertaken his first year. Once he was selected as a finalist, Cameron had to undertake an interview process with APS before he was selected as the overall Apprentice of the Year winner. Joining him at the awards ceremony was fellow apprentice Chris Harkins. Chris, who is now in 3rd year of his apprenticeship, made it to the final of his category. The former St Kettigan's Academy pupil is no stranger to recognition, having been a previous APS award winner during the 2nd year of his apprenticeship. And there's a lovely photo of the 2 of them holding their awards, which looks like a framed certificate.
This is an article by Stuart Somerville. 13,000 booked to recycle but failed to deliver rubbish. More than 13,000 people booked slots at West Lothian's recycling centres, but never turned up with their rubbish. Despite the cut in hours introduced last October and the introduction of the booking system, there's been no loss of customers, with 191,000 bookings made between October and April. Councillors heard that officers are finalising proposals to install automatic number plate recognition at CRC sites to speed up the access for drivers. The Environment and Sustainability Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel, PDSP, was told officers continue to remind customers of the importance of cancelling their booking if they do not intend to utilise it. In April last year, the Council Executive agreed to reduce the opening hours across the Council's 5 community recycling centres from 280 hours per week to 144 hours per week. The changes were to deliver budget savings of £336,000 per year and came into effect from October the 2nd, 2023. Controversially, it cut opening times to 1 day a week and weekends in Broxburn and Linlithgow. The first 6 months showed bookings across the 5 sites totalled 191,395 from October the 2nd to April the 30th. During that time, 219 half-hour slots were available. A total of 13,601 bookings were no-shows. David Moll, the interim waste operations manager, told the PDSP that having given the level of bookings, complaints had been few and far between. In his report he said, A total of 221 CRC inquiries were raised from October 2023 to April 2024 in relation to CRC sites, 41 complaints and 180 inquiries. Complaints about the reduced operating hours topped the list, but had tailed off by the end of April. Other subjects which brought the most queries concerned van and trailer access and booking questions. A project is currently underway to install automated number plate recognition cameras, ANPR, at the CRCs. ANPR cameras would be integrated with the traffic barriers and the booking system to fully automate the entry and exit system to the CRCs. This will improve customer service. Visitors will not have to wait for a site staff member to manually check their vehicle registration to match it with a valid booking on arrival. It will also replace labour-intensive check-in systems currently in place, freeing up operatives for other site management tasks. Mr. Mall's report promised ongoing review of the sites. The operation of the booking system is also kept under review. There have been no service disruptions to the system since it went live. There have been some customer requests for the ability to enhance booking slot visibility across all 5 sites on the booking web page. Initial feedbacks from the software suppliers is that this is likely to lead to slower performance of the booking system. Regular feedback from customers will continue to be gathered and discussed with software developers to determine whether system improvements are feasible. Conservative councillor Alison Adamson asked, "Has there been any attempts to follow up on no-shows? There's a lot of anecdotal evidence of people booking a slot just in case." She added to the praise she said she had heard at a recent community council from the way the new system was operating and how helpful staff at the CRC sites are. Mr. Mall said the level of no-shows was running at 7%, which is similar to other councils which operate similar schemes, saying, "It's not unusual, but we want to try to reduce it. It is a work in progress." Councillor Diane Calder had asked if Broxburn hours could be extended and added, "I do feel the site hours are a bit restrictive in Broxburn, and I think if we could extend, we might not have as many no-shows."
Young stage stars shine in the spotlight by Debbie Hall. The very talented kids from Star Harmonies Theatre show delighted audiences with not one but 2 fantastic productions. The young people aged from 10 to 18 staged their version of hit musical Into the Woods, which revealed what happens when beloved fairy tale characters journey into the woods together. But taking to the stage first were the younger performers, aged 5 to 10, who staged Jungle Book Kids. Founder Alison Barr said, "We are so delighted that all 4 shows were outstanding, with 20 awesome kids in Jungle Book Kids and another 22 in Into the Woods. We're hugely proud of each and every star." And this, although the article is short, has got 2 beautiful pictures, and it's got pictures from the stage where all the children are on in their costumes, and the costumes vary from fairy costumes to bears to mice. In fact, I've got an elephant as well, and they're all highly colourful, and it's to an exotic background of blues and purples and dark green trees and ferns.
No funding offer as St Kent's classrooms demolished. Demolition of the RAAC affected classrooms at St Kentigern's Academy has now been completed. So far, West Lothian Council has spent £7 million on the major reconstruction project at the Blackburn High School. But with building work expected to start by February, there has been no confirmation that the Scottish Government will contribute to the final bill of £35 million. No, yes, that's correct. In an update to councillors on the executive this week, officers said, "It should be noted that the current estimated cost of £35 million as an overall development cost is extremely challenging, and officers are continuing to work very hard with the project team appointed through Hub South East and the Tier 1 contractor to maintain that position. Discussions remain ongoing with the Scottish Government around funding support to deliver the works required at St Kentigern's Academy. To date, no funding support has been confirmed." Councillor Kirsteen Sullivan said, "Can I ask if any monies have been forthcoming as yet, and if the Secretary for Education has agreed to visit the school to see the work that's in progress?" Patrick Welsh, the Finance Director, responded, "In terms of funding from the Scottish Government, I can confirm there has been no confirmation of additional funding. The Council has provided updates to the Scottish Government on a regular basis in terms of progress with the project and the shortfall in funding, but to this point there hasn't been any additional funding." Dr Elaine Cook, the Deputy Chief Executive responsible for education, said, "We've had nothing from the Scottish Government in terms of asking for another visit to St Kent's." Councillor Sullivan said, "I'd like to thank officers for their ongoing attempts to keep the situation at St Kent's under the noses of the Scottish Government. It's really disappointing that they haven't come forward with any financial support and haven't shown any interest in visiting the school. I think that's something that would be welcomed by the whole school community, the teachers, pupils and parents, and the wider community." Demolition costs at St Kent's totalled £730,000. More than 60% of the building will be rebuilt. The £7 million spent so far has gone on enabling works, including the provision of temporary classroom spaces. The school has managed to maintain timetables. The major disruption has been in PE, where children have to be bused to alternative sports venues, and in the lack of a large assembly area used for exam timetables. However, the school has worked with other council venues to provide suitable exam space.
We have now come to the end of part 2, and in part 3 we will include the quiz. Welcome to part 3, and we will start with the quiz. Question 1. Which Japanese city was largely destroyed by the first atomic bomb used in warfare? Was it Osaka, Nagasaki, or Hiroshima? Question 2. After which king is the authorised version of the English Bible that appeared in 1611 named? Was it James I, Charles I, or Henry VIII? Question 3. Who wrote the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel Gone with the Wind? Was it Thornton Wilder, Margaret Mitchell, or Edith Wharton? Question 4. Which British composer is famous for his operatic collaborations with W.S. Gilbert? Was it Sir Arthur Sullivan, Edward Elgar, or Benjamin Britten? Question 5. Which official of the House of Lords summons MPs to hear the Queen's speech? Is it Black Rod, or the Speaker, or the Sergeant at Arms? Question 6. Which famous battle in June 1815 ended the Napoleonic Wars? Was it the Battle of Hastings? Or was it the Battle of Trafalgar? Or was it the Battle of Waterloo? Question 7, I think it is. On which river does the city of Cologne stand? Is it the Rhine? Is it the Danube? Or is it the Weser? And the last question. What name was given to the military alliance between the Soviet Union and other East European states signed in 1955? Was it the Riga Pact, the Moscow Pact, or the Warsaw Pact? And those are the questions for this week. Now we will continue with more general news and Joan.
There are 2 pages of the newspaper devoted to West Lothian primary track and field championships with a whole load of photos and a little paragraph saying, "Kids are all champions. The West Lothian primary track field championships were held at Craigswood Sports Centre. The venue said the youngsters were inspired by the Edinburgh Marathon Festival and Josh Kerr smashing the 39-year-old British mile record. And so the next generation took part in the competition and gave it their all, producing some terrific results. All the contestants have numbers pinned to the front of their T-shirts, and the largest photos of 5 girls wearing cool blue T-shirts. They're all smiling with their arms round each other, and they're obviously good friends. In the background, there's a pile of rucksacks and children milling around. Another photo shows a boy throwing the shot put while another competitor in the background is touching his toes, limbering up for his turn, perhaps. There are 2 photos taken at the start of racing and 1 taken mid-race with the boys with numbers 44 and 81, well ahead of anyone else. And 2 photos, one of a girl and one of a boy, are taken during the relay race, and the last photo shows 2 boys and 2 girls giving each other a high five. They're all obviously having a great time.
The Linlithgow and Linlithgow Bridge Gala Day, pictures with Andy West. The article's written by Debbie Hall. Smiles are all around at Gala. The good folk of Linlithgow and Linlithgow Bridge enjoyed a super gala day at the weekend. They enjoyed a packed parade that was full of floats and lots of smiling faces as youngsters wound their way through the route. One of the highlights of the day was the crowning of Queen Hannah, who enjoyed her moment in the spotlight. There was something for everyone of all ages, including bands and entertainment, as everyone had a fantastic day and got into the gala day spirit. And there are 8 pictures of this parade. One with the Queen, who's wearing a purple sort of cloak and a white dress, and she's in the St Michael's Church. And then there are pictures of the ladies in waiting with lilac dresses, blue dresses, pink dresses, and some wee white boleros. This is obviously a cooler day. And we have some fairies in white dresses, and each fairy holding a star. And most of the pictures have been taken on the parade route with the audience in the background, people lining the streets to watch the parade going past. There is also a picture of the football teams, boys from the football teams, and they are all in red outfits. Then there's a picture of the crown bearer, a young lad dressed in a kilt, in a sort of blue outfit with a blue kilt, carrying the crown for the Queen. And then there's also a picture of a young man sitting on a white horse in a blue kilt outfit, and he's got a shield with the coat of arms of Linlithgow, the black bitch on the island with the tree.
Seagull striker on the radar as Lions rebuild goes on. Martindale eyes Brighton star but admits player departure will be needed to facilitate any deal. And the article is by Andy McGilvery. Livingston boss David Martindale is bringing up strikers from Brighton as he looks to strengthen for the season ahead. While Titi Yenge will wear the number 9 as the Lions drop down to the Championship, Martindale is looking to bring in a striker and at least 2 defenders to add completion. But he says 3 or 4 players will still have to leave to make way for this, as they're not on Premiership money anymore. Livingston beat Alloa Athletic 2-1 at home on Saturday, while Matthew Clark and Stephen Kelly scoring in the first friendly, while they won 2-1 against Broxburn Athletic on Tuesday, with away clashes at Spartans and Kelty Hearts next Tuesday. Martindale was pleased to welcome Yenge and goalkeeper Shamil George back for that game and expects new signing Ricky Corboa to join the group shortly. Speaking to Livingston's FC website after Saturday's game, Martindale said, "I was fairly happy with a lot of it. There's stuff that we've got to work on, but that's what pre-season's for. There's still a lot of relationships that are needing built, and if you look at the boys that are missing, there are probably 5 still to come into that group as we speak. There are 3 or 4 players I would like to add, probably 3 ideally coming in. I'm still actively looking for a number 9, a centre-back, maybe 2, to bring the completion in, and I've spoken to the lads. There are probably 3 or 4 that need to move on if they want game time. One player is coming up from a Premier League club in England. He's training in with us at the moment. I've got what I'd like to call a good relationship with Brighton. Gordon Greer's down there, great guy. Davy Weir, fantastic boy. And I did my pro licence with Gary Dicker, so we've got some good strong contacts at Brighton. I've got a centre-back from Brighton coming up. I'm in for a number 9 and Big Titi's still to return. 2 wingers I brought in mean I've got real pace in the wide areas. Both of them are still coming back from slight knocks, Ricky Corboa and Liam Soule. I'm fairly positive that if we can add 2, a centre-back and a 9, potentially 3, I'll be fairly comfortable where we are. Where we are now, we don't have the Premiership money, so we're going to have to move boys on. It's about balancing the squad right now. But there is money in the budget, as I'm speaking right now, to bring 1 more player in minimum. That's probably going to be in the defence area, because we're a wee bit light there, but I'm fairly in good place where we are at the moment. Martindale is pleased with the atmosphere he feels at the West Lothian club and said, "There's new energy in the changing room. It was a difficult season last year, but new energy, new faces. There are boys who are keen to impress and who are staff we're keen to educate as well. So it's a good feel about the place. It's now about building those relationships, getting game time into people. Jeremy Pryor came in on Saturday. He's extremely good with the ball at his feet. Christian Montano was asked to play at left centre-back, and I think he can play there. But it is an area we need to strengthen to bring real competition into the building." Meanwhile, Martindale reckons at least 6 clubs will be actively competing for 2 promotion slots from the Championship this coming season, with themselves dropping out of the top flight and champions Falkirk and Hamilton Accies coming up from League One. He said, "Every single club in this league right now are probably going to be getting promoted. Within that group, there are probably 6 teams that have a really good chance, but I think everybody is going to fancy it. It should be a really competitive league. You've not got a Kilmarnock or a Dundee United, so to speak. We're the Premiership club coming down, but we've the finances that the club have had. I generally think that there's nobody in the Championship at this moment in time that doesn't fancy their chances. So it shouldn't lead to an exciting season, and we've got to make sure that we've got that mix."
Now, I have two articles from the West Lothian Bulletin, and the first one is New Winchborough Primary School officially named. A new primary school to be constructed in Winchborough is to be called Hawk Hill Primary School. The decision was made following a public consultation. Various stakeholders, including local school pupils and the wider Winchborough community, were then asked for their views on the potential name for the new school, with Hawk Hill Primary School being the preferred option. Planning permission was granted earlier this year for the new non-denominational primary school, which will have an initial capacity of 231 pupils and 42 early years places. It is being fully funded by developer contributions to cope with the increasing demand from the growing core development area of Winchborough, with a flexible design that will allow for future expansion if required. Work is expected to start this year, with pupils attending the new school from August 2025. The second article is headed Recycling Boost for Flats. West Lothian Council have worked to improve the recycling facilities and opportunities for a number of flatted properties within West Lothian. A spread of areas including East Calder, Fauldhouse, Winchborough and others were part of this initial batch of locations. A first phase of works has commenced and is near completion in 12 streets throughout the county, with upward of 32 separate bin stores, seeing works undertaken to enable the provision of twin stream recycling to upwards of 375 properties. This work will contribute to plans to improve household recycling rates in West Lothian.
Back to the West Lothian Courier. The article is headed Centre Will Be Home to Good Sports, and it's by Debbie Hall. To celebrate some of the sporting events taking place this summer, the Centre Livingston has invited 3 charities and a social enterprise to take part in its Jump into Summer sports-themed events programme. The programme includes a Beat the Goalie challenge in a Euros football pop-up basketball and table tennis tryouts and 44 free daily workshops. The action-packed event is designed to give visitors the chance to try out a new sport or improve their skills and join in the various free sessions for kids of all ages, running from Saturday until Monday, August 12th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. In partnership with West Lothian Community Foundation, a Euros football pop-up will be located at the Activity Hub near Waterstones from July 4th to 8th, where shoppers can take part in a Beat the Goalie challenge and get help from the coaches on how to improve their technique. Newly signed players from Livingston FC will be joining in the fun on Friday, July 5th at 1:30 p.m. To tie in with the Scottish Golf Open, a golf simulator will be in situ at the Activity Hub to encourage people to try their hand at the sport or improve their speed and swing from Friday to Sunday, July 12th to 14. Lothian Phoenix Wheelchair Basketball Club will also be taking part in the event, with various demonstrations and opportunities for shoppers to see how many hoops they can shoot from Friday to Sunday, July 26th to 28th. On August 3rd and 4th, West Lothian Community Table Tennis Club, which is a charity based at the Centre Livingston, will be providing taster and mini coaching sessions. Leaderboards will chart the best results on the day at the sports pop-up, with lucky shoppers being in with a chance of winning £25 gift cards. To highlight the benefits of cycling, Livingston-based social enterprise West Lothian Bike Library will be taking up residency next to Car Park 1 on Wednesday, August 7th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m, where they will also be carrying out bike safety checks. From 29th June till August 12th, on all 44 days, families can take part in a wide variety of free workshops with activity leaders from workouts and storytelling sessions, painting classes and a 1-mile lap of the shopping centre on Saturday, August 10th at 11 a.m, with kids receiving a wooden keepsake medal at the end for taking part. There will also be a Spot the Sport trail to find pictures in 10 shop windows, and on completion, families can enter a weekly prize draw to win £50 gift card every week. All activities are free, with the option to donate to any of the 4 summer charity partners. Patrick Roberts, Centre Director at the Centre, Livingston, said, "Our Jump into Summer sports-themed programme, which links into some brilliant events this summer, is packed with lots of free fun-filled activities for kids of all ages. This is a great opportunity for us to give visitors the chance to either try out a new sport or improve their skills with the help of some fantastic coaches. The event also gives us another opportunity to support and shine a light on the great work of our summer charity partners are doing in the local community, including West Lothian Community Foundation, Lothian Phoenix Wheelchair Basketball Club, West Lothian Community Table Tennis Club and West Lothian Bike Library. For more information on all free activities on offer, check out www.thecentrelivingston.com. And there's a photo, of some members of staff. 2 of the ladies are holding hula hoops. They all seem to be festooned with various flags. One gentleman's holding table tennis bats. And at the feet of several of the men, there's a basketball, a rugby ball, a football, a golf club and a golf ball.
Family Fun Days. West Lothian Council's Adult Learning Team will be running a series of free summer family learning sessions in Deans and Whitburn in July. These fun courses are for parents and carers to attend and participate in with their children. 1 family member can attend with up to 3 children. Parents and carers must attend the sessions with their children. Multiple sessions can be booked, but you cannot book onto 2 sessions that are the same. Email adultlearning@westlothian.gov.uk or phone 0800 731 1831 for further information and to book a place.
And now we have come to the end of part 3. And in part 4, we will include those all-important quiz answers, so please stay tuned. Welcome to part 4, and we will start with the quiz answers. Question 1. Which Japanese city was largely destroyed by the first atomic bomb used in warfare? That was Hiroshima. Question 2. After which king is the authorised version of the English Bible that appeared in 1611 named? That king was James I. Question 3. Who wrote the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel Gone with the Wind? That was Margaret Mitchell. Question 4. The British composer, famous for his operatic collaborations with W.S. Gilbert, was Sir Arthur Sullivan. Question 5. The official of the House of Lords who summons the MPs is called Black Rod. Question 6. The battle in June 1815, which ended in Napoleonic Wars, was the Battle of Waterloo. Question 7. The river that Cologne stands on, very topical with the football recently, it's the Rhine, the River Rhine. Last of all, what name was given to the military alliance between the Soviet Union and other East European states, signed in 1955? It was the Warsaw Pact. So I hope you did well there. And now we will move on to the remainder of the broadcast and Kate.
St Kentigern's Academy girls are Cyber First Scottish champions. St Kentigern's Academy's S2 girls were invited to participate in a UK-wide cyber competition run by the National Cyber Security Centre. This was part of the GCHQ and sponsored by Morgan Stanley. The girls formed teams of up to 4 members and solved a range of coding, logic and encryption puzzles, and were competing against schools from all over the UK. This year, 28 S2 girls from St Kentigern's took part. The competition had 3,608 teams from over 750 schools across the UK, 12,500 girls in total. One of the school's teams, made up of Julia, Elisana, Julia and Akosia, won, becoming Scottish championships. As Scottish champions, they were invited to Oxford to attend the Cyber First Winners event. The girls met with winners from each of our 4 nations, explored Oxford University and attended an awards ceremony and gala dinner. Also, in recognition of all the good work undertaken at St Kentigern's, the school was awarded a Cyber First Silver Award as one of the UK's leading cyber schools. The winning team were recently invited to speak at a meeting of West Lothian Council's Education Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel. Executive Councillor for Education Andrew Maguire said, "Thank you very much to the team for coming along to speak at committee. It was a huge honour to hear from the following their success at national level. I hope the pupils continue to explore the world of cyber security, and I hope their outstanding achievement inspires their peers to look into the subject." And it actually is accompanied by a lovely picture of the 4 girls, and Sarah Murray, which is the deputy head teacher, and Gareth Partridge, computing teacher and lead, who accompany the students to Oxford for their awards, and they're holding the plaque and their certificate.
Parents get first look at new £24 million school. The creation of the new Craigshill Primary School is a step closer. And this is by Debbie Hall. Parents got their first look this week at the brand new Craigshill Primary School. The creation of a new state-of-the-art primary school in Craigshill, Livingston, has taken a step closer. It is proposed that the new £24 million non-denominational school will be constructed on the site of Riverside Primary School, with pupils and staff from Riverside and Letham moving into the newly constructed school for the start of the academic term in August 2027. Greg Welsh, the Council's Head of Education, Primary, said, "The project will provide the opportunity to bring together 2 existing schools in a well-established community and act as a catalyst for regeneration of the Craigshill community, providing a central focal point for children and families. Secondly, the delivery of a state-of-the-art school will aim to support the educational priorities and inspire the young people who attend. West Lothian Council is funding 50% of the project with the Learning Estate Investment Programme, that's LEIP, a joint scheme between Scottish and local government providing the remaining 50%. The project will also provide a focal point for families and young people in the area. A formal consultation is required for any proposal to establish a new school, the attachment area of a new school or closure of a school, and also gives the local community a chance to voice their opinions on the proposed development. Next week, the Education Executive will be presented with the findings of the consultation, which was extremely positive, and be asked to approve the school's name, Craigshill Primary School. The Executive will also be asked to agree the catchment area for the school, which would cover the current catchment areas for Letham and Riverside primaries. The proposed new school would have a capacity of 462, with 80 nursery places, to ensure there is sufficient capacity for the area. The current Riverside Primary School building was closed in July 2023 due to issues with reinforced, autoclaved, aerated concrete, other words, RAAC rack, with pupils relocated to the nearby former Beatley School building. The new school is subject to planning permission being obtained and final designs being agreed. The above is an artist's impression at this stage. And the artist's impression, it's a cube-shaped building with floor-to-ceiling windows. There's also covered walkways, balconies, and it looks just of the age. It's really a lovely school. Let's hope it gets its planning permission.
This article is headed Broxburn will tackle 5th tier test head-on, and it's by Paul Thompson. Broxburn athletic boss Stevie Pittman insists his side won't be in the Lowland League to make up the numbers and has set an ambitious target for their first campaign in the 5th tier. The Brox cruised to the East of Scotland League title and then made light work of Dalbeattie Star in the Lowland League playoff final, winning 12-2 on aggregate. As a newly promoted side heading into the 5th tier late next month, Broxburn could be seen as one of the underdogs this season, but Boss Pittman insists the ambitious club won't just be playing to avoid the drop straight back to where they came from. He said, "I won't be going into the Lowland League to avoid relegation, put it that way. I would be wasting my time. When you go into a league, everyone says they want to win it, and I'm realistic about what is in front of us. But I want us to be challenging in the top half of that league. If we are not, I don't think I'll be doing my job right. We need some new recruits, and we will get them. The challenge ahead is one to really look forward to, and I can't wait for the new season to start." The Lowland League finished a few weeks ahead of us, so those teams have had a wee head start on us in terms of resting up, but we'll be prepared for it as best we can. Pittman will make changes this summer and knows his side will need to strengthen to tackle the step up to the 5th tier, where they will face the likes of defending champions East Kilbride, former SPFL League 2 sides Albion Rovers and Cowdenbeath, plus B teams from Celtic and Hearts. He added there will be some tough decisions to make. I think we will need to bring a few new players in and let some go. The whole team won't be able to stick together, but hopefully we can keep most of them. If better players come along, that is part and parcel of football, and if I don't bring better players in, then I'm not doing my job right. When I bring new players in, it won't surprise me if the boys still here step up a level again, because they did things like that throughout last season. They keep on surprising me, to be fair to them, so we'll see. Broxburn played near neighbours Livingston in a friendly on Tuesday night at Ammonvale and made a game of it in a 2-1 defeat, where Gary Brass was on target either side of Livy goals from a trialist and Stephen Kelly. And there's a photograph of a couple of the players doing a high five. One of them is number 7 and the other one has number 14 on his shorts with the front of his top Paragon Inks, who I presume are their sponsors. There's somebody else, a back view of somebody else in the photo whom I assume is a referee because he's dressed in dark clothing, and an insert photograph of the boss, Pittman.
This is an article by Stuart Somerville entitled "It's Rubbish for Town as Waste Bins Clog Centre." West Lothian is set to take action to stop 1,000-litre commercial waste bins clogging pavements. Proposals will come before councillors in September after officers complete a study of practices in neighbouring councils. However, in local towns, a scheme will only work if the council can persuade shops and their private waste collectors to take part. The council does not have a commercial rubbish collection, and the chair of the Environment and Sustainability Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel, PDSP, acknowledged that the enforcement will cost the council and could eventually be something that they had to staff and police, alongside changes to parking rules. Bathgate councillor Willie Boyle raised a motion at full council earlier this year calling for an end to retailers clogging pavements with huge dumpster bins. The problem is particularly acute in the Steelyard, Bathgate's pedestrianised area. It is also common in other streets in the town, as well as in Linlithgow and other traditional town centre locations. A report to the PDSP said, several councils use existing legislation to operate schemes to control the storage and presentation of trade waste with designated control zones. Progressing a similar scheme within West Lothian will require a more detailed assessment. In Edinburgh, the council manages commercial waste collection by timed periods. Head of Operational Services Jim Jack suggested better comparisons for West Lothian would be smaller communities such as those under schemes run by Fife Council in St Andrews. In that town, commercial waste collection is only allowed between 7:30am and 10:30am. Mr Jack said bins being left out on pavements was a particular problem in Linlithgow and Bathgate. Out with the collection times, the dumpster bins have to be moved off pavements or the stores can face fines under the Roads Scotland Act for obstruction. Key to Councillor Boyle's initial request had been the problems experienced by wheelchair users and those with child buggies trying to negotiate a path around huge bins left out on pavements. In his original motion, Councillor Boyle said, where there is an obvious requirement for commercial waste disposal, the demand is not being managed in a respectful way to complement the efforts to keep our streets attractive to customers and new businesses. Large waste containers, which can be over 1,000 litres in size, are regularly left out on the pavements and streets as a permanent fixture. There are no restrictions in planning terms specific to the placing of these bins. Chairing the meeting, Councillor Tom Conn said that in the future the council could take a holistic approach to enforcement, including policing the introduction of decriminalising park enforcement rules, which would introduce parking fines along with legislation to stop parking on the pavement. Councillor Conn said he hoped that retailers would be able to work better to coordinate collection times with waste firms.
New postcode lookup service launched for council tenants. Council house tenants can now check when their home is scheduled for improvement and maintenance works, thanks to a new postcode lookup system. Tenants can find out when a review is to be carried out for work to take place in their property by entering their postcode into the system before selecting their address from a drop-down menu. They'll then be presented with a table detailing when capital work reviews are due to take place for their property. Works including kitchen and bathroom renewals, central heating replacements, energy efficiency works and much more. While the review itself will be conducted in the designated programme year, actual installation may occur in the subsequent year depending on lead-in times for specific elements. It's important to note that the review date provided may at times be subject to change. The system has been developed on the back of engagement with council tenants, with feedback indicating tenants sought more ways to find out when their homes were due for capital work upgrades. And if you're interested in more information, tenants should visit www.westlothian.gov.uk/search-for-your-address.
This article is by Daisy Fox, who is the Courier's Family Time correspondent, headed up AIDS Ode to Toad. Actor and comic Adrian Edmondson lends his voice to this fresh take on a literary classic. The beloved characters from the riverbank are back with some new friends. Actor and comedian Adrian Edmondson is heading up the cast to bring the adventures of Mole, Toad, Ratty and Badger to life for a new generation of TV viewers. Toad and Friends is a brand new CG animated series on Boomerang, based on Kenneth Grahame's classic novel The Wind in the Willows, which has delighted children since it was first published in 1908. With the ever-relevant values of kindness, good manners, community and citizenship, Toad and Friends honours the legacy of the original novel while refreshing the characters and storylines and introducing the familiar characters to some feisty new female ones. Adrian, who plays Toad, says, "Most people know The Wind in the Willows. I read it myself as a child, and I read it to my own children as a bedtime story. It's a delightful book to read, especially aloud to children. I thought at the time that my Toad was rather brilliant, which is rather big-headed in the same way that Toad's rather big-headed. He goes on, he's a very enthusiastic person, which I think I am too. He's an awful liar. Not me. Toad grabs life by the throat. He can be overbearing, unpleasant occasionally, but he always comes around to being just as an enthusiast, and we forgive him because he's still lovable and because his enthusiasm is real. It's never faked." "What kind of people do you want in the world?" asks Adrian Edmondson. "People who really like stuff, people who want to go for it. So I've always loved him, and I love playing him." And there's wee pictures taken from the series. There's a very colourful picture from the animated film, and Toad standing there, his green face, purple bow tie, red jacket, large as life, and with his friends. And the actual Toad and Friends, that's the cartoon, premieres on Boomerang with daily episodes starting on Monday, July the 1st. I've got to say that's Boomerang, the TV channel, and not here.
To the general election now. Don't forget to bring your ID on polling day. Voters need to remember that photo ID will be needed to be able to cast ballots on polling day for the first time at a general election following the introduction of new legislation. Identity documents which will be accepted at polling places include passports, driving licences, disabled people's blue badges, bus passes, Young Scot cards, Defence ID and photo cards from the PASS scheme. If your document has expired, it will still be accepted so long as the photo is still a good likeness. And as Boomerang broadcast covers 2 constituencies in the area, we will remind you of the candidates who are standing in each of those constituencies, starting with Bathgate and Linlithgow. John Hannah, Independents for Scotland. Martin Day, SNP. Simon J, Green Party. Lynn Munro, Conservatives. Stuart MacArthur, Independent candidate. Christine Sullivan, Labour. Jamie McNamee, Reform. Sally Patel, Lib Dems. That was the Bathgate and Linlithgow candidates. Now for Livingston. Debbie Ewan, Alba. Hannah Bardell, SNP. David McLennan, Reform. Gregor Poynton, Labour. Cameron Glasgow, Green Party. Karen Lindsay, Liberal Democrats. And Damien Doran Timpson, Conservatives. We have now come to the end of this week's recording, and we hope that you found it interesting and enjoyable. When you have finished listening to the recording, can I remind you to place the USB stick back in the wallet, reverse the label so the cut corner is at the top right-hand side, and post it back to us as soon as possible. Remember, wallets should only be posted in a post box. Please do not post them in a post office. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and very best wishes from Team 4.